everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be a little bit of a review. I did a wedding tip yesterday about vetting your vendors. So today I decided to do a full episode, full video on the pros and cons to not vetting your vendors. So listen to this statistic. Did you know that 1 in 5 couples regret at least one of their vendor decision? 1 of 5 couples. Today we'll cover the steps and key things to talk about yellow flags, not red flags, on how to find the real gems. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about vetting your vendors. Now there's going to be a lot of feedback on this and there's going to be a lot of people saying a lot of different things, but I feel like this is something the industry is missing right now is education. This is for those vendors that are on the cusp of just getting into the wedding industry, new to the wedding industry, and this is also for the veterans of the wedding industry to make sure that you understand certain things that are happening in the industry so that we're gonna ruffle some feathers today. There is so much on social media right now with wedding couples that are being scammed, first of all, wedding couples that are not happy with the results that they got back from their photographer per se. And there's a lot of people out there upset with not getting anything back or taking 15 to 20 weeks to get their stuff back. So we're going to talk about all of that in the video. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Ron Lemelin, wedding photographer in Western Massachusetts. I pride myself on being thorough and educational when it comes to educating wedding couples and vendors. So we're going to get into a lot of different things in here. And let me just start by saying I am not against at all whatsoever the new people coming into the industry and the newbies that are coming into the industry, people that want to get into the industry and they're trying to get into the industry and they're trying to come in on a little bit of the coattails of the market being saturated with a lot of photographers right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am not against any newbies or any new people coming into the industry. This is just guidelines for wedding couples looking for said people in the wedding industry. So let me just say it that way. There's going to be a lot of things people are going to say that I'm against. It is not. I changed my wording from red flags and I changed it to yellow flag. If the things we're going to talk about soon is going to be yellow flags. That means they're not deal breakers. They're just things to be made caution of, made aware of. The actual word vetting, when I titled this vetting your vendors, doesn't matter what the vendor is. It can be caterer, it could be photographer, DJ, dresses, florist, anything, any vendor on your wedding day, this qualifies for. This is about educating wedding couples on what you should be looking at when it comes to your day. 1 in 5 wedding couples regret at least one of their vendors. Do you want that to be you? Do you want that to be the one thing that you regretted not spending the extra money on? Or I wish I would have researched that a little bit more. This video is going to cover some things for vendors to separate yourself from the competition, and when it comes to the newbies and things like that. We're going to talk about websites, social media, and things like that. So the actual word vetting, listen to the definition of that. It is the act or process of appraising, researching, or checking a person or thing for suitability, accuracy, and validity. Wow. You're not questioning. Let me start with this. This is not like looking at something suspiciously saying, that seems too good to be true. That just means I'm going to do my research and find out. So let me stop right there for just 1 second. Let me start by saying this. If you are getting a list from a venue that is what's called a preferred vendor list, let me start by saying we don't pay to be on those vendor lists at all. Back in the day, you used to have to pay X amount of dollars for that venue to put your name in the book so that they are the first person that they call out for such and such and so. Doesn't matter what it is. That's not happening anymore. One person actually asked me, how much of a kickback do I get or give when it comes to being on that list? I said, 0. I said, I actually went to one of the venues and asked a question like, hey, thank you. It is a privilege and an honor to be on your list. But if you don't mind me asking, what qualifies a vendor to be on your list? And their reply was, great question. He flat out looked me right in the face and said, you obviously have to have worked here before. You're good to my staff. You're good to the clients. You are dependable, reliable to be around, and you show up when you're supposed to. That's what could put you on our list. So to me, that is a good sign, going back to what I originally said. When a venue gives you a list of preferred vendors for their venue, those are vetted. That venue has said these people are reliable, dependable, and courteous and kind and nice and great to be in the industry and things like that. So you shouldn't have to question a vendor that is on a vendor's preferred list. There might be 5 options on there. Now, this is what we're going to talk about next, is vetting which one is the best fit for you. But let's start with that. Pro tip number 1, experience where it counts. We're going to talk about each one of these pro tips, and then we're going to break it down with some ideas underneath that so that you get an idea. I'm going to break down each pro tip after that. But experience. There's a lot of venues that are a little bit on the darker side, atmosphere-wide, aesthetics-wide. Looking around, the lights are lower for more of an ambiance. The lighting is different. It's more tungsten than it is anything else. So things like that come into play when it comes to how to photograph the room. Some venues don't allow you to use flash during a ceremony. There's a venue out in Connecticut that is a very dark lit venue that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, man, it's beautiful outside. Your ceremony starts to roll around in that 5:30 mark and it's dark. You need prime lenses to do that. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, but experience where it counts. One of the questions as a wedding couple you should be asking is, how many full weddings have you done on your own? I cannot emphasize this more. This is like the number one thing I educate my couples with when they come to me, is talking to them about whoever I'm up against. How many weddings have they done last year? Not, oh, I do 25 weddings, not telling them that it was in the course of 6 years. You know, that's an average of 5 or 6, which is not a bad thing. We're going to talk about websites and links coming up soon. But for right now, you need to talk to them about how many weddings per year that they do. And if they're truthful with you as a vendor, you should be, let me just preface that, you should be as a DJ saying, hey, I've done 3 weddings last year, or I've done 35 weddings last year. You should be honest with your answers, because if you're not, and you fib, gray area, just a little bit, if you don't deliver on your end and they find out that you did not tell the truth, that's going to come back to bite you in the butt. Just be honest with them, saying, I don't have the most experience in that venue, but this is what I've done and this is what I can do. I'd love to be part of your special day. And then leave the cards where they are. And then let the bride say, okay, we can save money by going to this person, or we can spend a little bit more for an experienced person and we know what we're going to get, okay? Let me just start by saying that. Underneath this same experience part, have they worked under different difficult lighting scenarios and weather conditions? Ask for proof. Can I see what you've done outside? Can I see what you've done inside? So if we have to go inside on a rainy day, can you show me something from that? Now, if you've gone to a venue 10 times and you've only photographed outside, you don't have anything inside to show them. That is a legit understanding, and that's your response, saying, you know what, I've been there 10 times, but I've never photographed inside, so I don't have any examples to show you. So your wedding is going to be in June. We're probably going to end up being outside. So as a wedding couple, don't let that be the deciding factor if somebody can't produce images from something that was not possible, if that makes sense. Experience tab right now, pro tip number 1, how can you get back on track if you go a little bit behind because of getting ready, pictures ran long, ceremony started late? How do you get yourself back on track again? Now, the responses from your vendors should be an indicator of experience, meaning, oh, I would just do this and I would just do that. Well, in certain scenarios, you're relying, the proper way to answer that is we get together with a DJ and we come up with a plan to move some things around but still get everything done and make up some time along the way. If your vendor is unsure in their responses or they, don't know, yellow flag. Now, I'm not saying answer everything instantly. Obviously, think before you speak, but be honest with them saying, well, I would be the best way I can do this is maybe do this and maybe do this, and come up with an honest answer when it comes to that. So as a wedding couple, you want to see how your vendor is responding to your questions. Pro tip number 2, this is a gray area. You want to see full galleries. I can send somebody 10 images from a certain venue, great. Some of these wedding couples are asking for full galleries. This is a gray area now. My galleries that I deliver are password protected. I do not have the right to share these galleries just because I'm trying to get another client. I don't have the right to share these said galleries to a potential wedding couple, okay? So as a wedding couple and you're looking for galleries, be respectful, because a vendor like myself cannot send you a copyrighted, privileged, private gallery just to show you work that I've done at that venue. So the gray area is if somebody asks me for a venue gallery, I have to reach out to the bride and groom. I have to say, hey, do you mind if I share a gallery, your gallery, from your wedding to a potential client? 95% of the time, they're going to say, oh my God, Ron, no problem. If it gives you more work, great, no problem at all. 5% of the people are like, ooh, I really don't know if I want to share my gallery because that means I have to give up my password to them. And some people might not like to do that. So the gray area is, I will try, but there's no guarantee I can show you a private gallery. With that being said, that same rule protects you from me sharing your gallery. So it goes both ways. So there's a gray area. I can show you some of the getting ready, some of the ceremony, some of the first look, some of the reception, some of the cocktail hour. I can show you 5-10 images from each one of those things because I can put that in a separate tab. But to give you access to somebody's private gallery, I might not be able to do that. So keep that in mind. All right, pro tip number 3, reviews. Anybody that puts their name into a forum like Facebook and things like that, hey, check me out at, and the link is below, I'm not going to say red flag, but if you click that link and it goes right to their webpage and it's nothing but high school seniors and families and you're looking for a wedding, yellow flag. Yellow flag. Vendor, you should be putting links in there that go straight to your wedding page. Oh, you don't have a lot of wedding images to show. Yellow flag. What's happening now in the industry is some of these wedding photographers that have been doing pictures in high school seniors and families for X amount of years, they want to start dabbling into the wedding industry, which is no problem. I started the video saying, hey, I'm not against the newbies. I'm just saying know your place. You should not be asking for $4,500 because everybody else is getting $4,500 for your wedding services if you've only done 5 weddings, if you've only done 1 wedding. You should not be asking for that kind of money to do that. Now, this is where everybody's going to say, well, that's not right for you to say. That's okay. This is my video. This is my opinion. And I don't feel like somebody that does 20 weddings per year at $4,500 and somebody else who's done one wedding for a friend or 5 weddings for a friend justifies $4,500 worth of experience. Just my opinion. Comment down below if you don't like that. That's okay. I'm just telling you, here's a scenario. You go to the mechanic and you need to have your brake lines bled and new pads and rotors put on your car. And you were like, hey, somebody send me some information on social media. I need to have my brakes done. Where would you go? Oh, my brother-in-law does it out of his house. And he does it out of his garage. And he doesn't charge that much to do that. And you get to his garage and it's a plastic pop-up metal frame awning, and he's going to do your brakes, and he just got out of college and he does mechanics on the side, and he's going to fix your brake lines and your brakes for half the price of the dealership. Now, I don't know about you. I trust a dealership that has overhead, ASE certified mechanics working on my car than somebody that works out of their garage. Again, if you're changing oil, no problem. That's definitely doable. I want to be very careful how I say this. I'm not prefacing against being the new guys. I'm just saying, who would you rather have working on your car? An ASE certified mechanic that does brakes all day long, every week for the past 15 years? Or somebody that just started doing brakes 3 weeks ago just because they bought a couple of, calipers and decided to do their own brakes, and now all of a sudden they're a mechanic. You decide. Take that same scenario into your wedding vendors. Do you want somebody who's been doing it for 1 year? Do you want somebody who's been doing 1 wedding, 2 weddings, 3 weddings, and they're just getting into it? Or are you looking to vet your vendors and find somebody who has experience? Because I don't know about you, but wedding days happen once. You don't redo weddings. Period. Yellow flag. If your link goes to high school seniors and family sessions. And let me preface this. I want to talk about the AI-generated wedding images that are happening across the industry right now. Some of them have been generated. I'm not against AI. I use AI in my workflow to remove signs, to remove power lines and things like that. That's the extent of what I do. When you are regenerating or generating a bride and groom and you're using that on your website as a wedding that you so-called did, and it's not true and accurate to do that, yellow flag. I'm going to leave that one right there on the table. Yellow flag. Everything on a website should be done by you, edited by you, delivered by you. As a second shooter, you should not be putting on there wedding done by so-and-so, and you were a second shooter and you got this great couple of the bride from a candid point of view. Yes, that was an image that you took, but you were working under somebody else's client and contract, and you didn't post the primary photographer. Yellow flag. So wedding couples, ask your vendors that you are talking to, is everything on your website done by you, or were you second shooting for somebody else? And if they answer truthful, the rest is on them. Can they deliver that image? Do they know how to pose people and things like that? So let me address the other thing. This is where you go to the reviews, Better Business Bureau, look up your vendors and see if there's anything red flags against them. Go to the Google searches and go to the Google pages, business pages, type in that business name and see if there's any low stars, 1 stars, and 5 stars. But when you're looking at the reviews, look for keywords like very calming, very respectful, very good at what they do with enunciating their words, and a blast to be around. Those are what you're looking for when it comes to that. If you're looking like, well, we got great images, but I felt like he was a little bit bossy, or he was a little bit controlling, or he didn't know how to get people back in line, or he wasn't assertive enough to keep my wedding party intact and things like that. So, yellow flag. Wedding vendors. Images on your website that were done at workshops. Those are not true, accurate wedding images. Yes, it is a workshop where everything was set up for you and them, and you come in and take pictures of the placed people that have already been posed by other people, and you're taking images to build your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with that. Show them, but this was a workshop that I attended, and here's one of the cool images that I got. Be truthful, because if they're saying, oh my God, that castle, that's where our wedding is, and you're like, I never photographed it, or here's an image I did at that venue, and it was a workshop. That's not true. That's not accurate, because a wedding photographer does an entire day there, not just a workshop where people are posed for you. So your wedding images on your website should not be from a workshop. They should be actual weddings that you shot on the wedding day. That's what you should be showing. And if they're not, just be truthful with the client when they call you up so that they have a fair assessment of what they're looking for. Bonus tip about reviews and reading between the lines and things like that, and websites and things like that. Find your top 3 people that you gravitate to, whether it's package-wise, price-wise, personality-wise. I don't care what the reasons why these 3 vendors have stood out to you. Meet all 3. Come in, grab a coffee. If you come into me, you're coming to sit down in my studio. You're going to see all of my work hanging up on the wall. I run a full-service photography business out of this studio. Everything from newborns, headshots, maternity. I run a full-service photography studio here in Western Massachusetts. So you're going to see that I have overhead. I'm here for the long haul when it comes to that. So that doesn't mean I'm going to be better fit for somebody else. That doesn't make me better than anybody else. It just shows the wedding couple. It justifies why the prices are what they are, and it lets them know that he's serious about what they do. All right, pro tip number 4, communication. We are busy people. If sometimes there is a delay in our responses, it's because we're probably with a client or doing emails or out of the office or whatever. Don't hold it against a wedding vendor if it takes them 5-6 hours to get back to you. I sat with somebody last week and they said they reached out to a photographer and they have not even replied back to their email in over 24 hours. That person could have been at a wedding. They could be backing up their files by now. They could have been doing a family emergency that could have happened inside of things. So give the people the benefit of the doubt that sometimes there's a delay when it comes to responding back to wedding couples. Let's talk about communication a little bit. Listen to these 3 things. How fast do they reply? I just covered that. Sometimes life happens for photographers also, so give us a chance to get back to you. Do they answer your questions clearly? Meaning, if you're saying, hey, I'm interested in your services, what's your pricing? And you are like, hey, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm going to tell you I need some more information. I need to know your wedding date, your wedding venue, how far am I traveling, things like that before I can send you back package pricing, because my Massachusetts pricing is different than Connecticut, Vermont. I did a wedding in Virginia last year, Cape Cod, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, all these different places. So my pricing is different. So I need a little bit more information about that. So there will be a question I come back to you about that. Okay. If your question is, have you photographed at X venue? And you reply back, hey, thank you for getting back to me. Here's my package pricing. And they didn't say if they photographed at that venue before, make sure they understand the question when it comes to, yes, I photographed at said venue before. So answer clearly, but make sure the vendor answers clearly back to you. What's your backup plan for if you're sick? I get this one all the time. For me, my secondary shooter becomes my primary. I get another second shooter to replace that person. I have a network of wedding photographers that I work with all the time that if I'm sick or if they're sick, we can help each other out. That's the easiest and safest way to answer that question. Experienced vendors will answer quickly, confidently, and without hesitation. If somebody is not sure or I've never experienced that, hesitation sometimes shows a little bit of a yellow flag with experience. All right, pro tip number 5, personality is underrated. Get to know your vendor. Your DJ is going to be with you all day. He's going to be enunciating and announcing and doing the emceeing and things like that. You need to be confident with said DJ that they are comfortable with the microphone, that they are comfortable with handling the emceeing of your day. They need to be comfortable with I don't mean they need to be boisterous and loud and hurling, heralding from the top of the roofs kind of thing like that. But I'm talking about a voice that is competent behind the microphone instead of just like, hi everyone, we want to start the festivities now, and do you think that person's going to get their attention? All right, pro tip number 4, vendors and wedding couples. You may get asked, or wedding couples, you should ask, what happens if it rains? What if that happens if the timelines run late? I was talking about being a DJ, having that voice that can enunciate and capture the crowd's attention with those people that are still talking, yapping, drinking, and things like that. You do not want a DJ that is, hi, can we have everybody's attention, please, so we can start with the press festivities and we can start with the people, the bride and groom coming in. Okay, who's ready to be excited? You want somebody with a boisterous voice that can get the crowd's attention and hype them up. Pro tip, personality of your DJ makes a difference. Personality of your photographer makes a difference. These are the people, as a wedding couple, you're going to be around all day. From the getting ready to the last dance of the night, we are going to be walking you through every step of the way. So we're going to be talking to you. If the personality of your photographer is a little bit standoffish, or they're really good at what they do, but they don't want to take charge of a day if it starts to go out of control or get behind, you need somebody that can step in and say, hey guys, okay, let's focus, okay, let's focus, let's get the things done so we can go play and party after with that. For me, this is also another thing. Your vendors should not only listen, but they should talk. If they only talk and don't listen, yellow flag. You don't want a vendor to be pushy, telling you what to do all day. You want a vendor that does just as much listening as they do talking. That is a true veteran of the industry. I'll ask you for ideas, but I want your opinion. What do we do about this? I will always try and come up with 3 scenarios. We have A, B, or C. What would you like to do? Okay, you want to do C? That means X. We have to do this and this. You're okay with that? Done. Let's go. Pro tip number 7, contracts. 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 I did a wedding tip not too long ago about reading your contract. These Facebook forums are out of control with, oh my God, my photographer said he was going to deliver the images in 3 weeks and it's now been 17 and I haven't heard from him. The industry is saturated with wedding couples that are getting scammed. And what they're doing is the people are writing in the comments, what does your contract say? And the wedding couple will reply back, we don't have a contract. No contract offered to you. I'm sorry, this is not a yellow flag, that's a red. Every vendor that you have on your wedding day, from the venue, officiant, photographer, DJ, dress, might not have a dress, you've got a bill of sale, anything like that should all have contracts. Print those contracts up, put them into a folder, have them with you at all times when you're doing all of your planning. No contract, red flag. That's it, not even a gray area. If you as a wedding couple say, yeah, just send me the contracts, you know what, just send me the deposit, you're good, I don't need a contract, I'm gonna deliver everything that I say. Red flag. Hard red flag, no doubt about that. You should have a contract and read your contract. Go over anything that is unclear or not clear or unsure of, no gray areas. You're getting X hours for X dollars delivered by X time. That's it. That's it. Go to your contract. You want to know clear deliverables. You want to know payment schedules. You want to know cancellation and backup policies. and it should all be in your contract. Pro tip number 8, pricing isn't everything. Pricing isn't just a number. Cheapest does not mean best value. Wedding couples, consider these things. What's included? What experience comes with the price? What problems are they preventing? You're not buying hours, you're buying peace of mind. Priceless. Pro tip number 9, industry reputation counts. I have a lot of wedding couples that will ask me who I've worked with in the past. And my answer is, if I haven't worked with their DJ that they have already booked, I will come in, introduce myself, subject to their timeline, and everybody's on the same page. If you can work professionally with me, I can work professionally with you. The wedding couple should never see a discrepancy between vendors saying this problem has a so-and-so and this person's not listening to me and so-and-so, and the videographer's taking over or the photographer's taking over and I can't get my video clips that I need, or I can't get my photography clips that I need. Everybody should work as a team, in front of the wedding couple and behind the scenes also, across the board. I will never say, oh, I've worked with that guy before and he's like, ooh, not so good. It will always be, do you have a contract with him? Perfect. I will work with anybody that you have set inside of you. And they're gonna work with me also. So we will just make it professional and get done when we need to get done and get as much. Their job's gonna get done, my job's gonna get done, and the wedding couple is going to get everything that is deliverable to them. At the end of the day, any discrepancies that any vendors have that work together that don't like each other or don't work well with each other, kind of thing like that. I've worked with some DJs that are very, very adamant about doing things their way and on their timeline. I've worked with some photographers also that have done that also. I've worked with some videographers that work that way also. We are a team that works together for the bride and groom. I will adjust things that I do to help you get what you need to be delivered. Video, DJ, whatever. I will always work with somebody. So that should not be an issue when it comes to. Pro tip number 10, trust your gut. If you're meeting with somebody and you're talking to them and they're answering very vaguely, you're not sure if their answers are being true or there's something off about the conversation that you've had with them, don't discount them right off the bat. They could just be nervous. And they could just have a stuttering problem. They could just be a little bit nervous with what they've done because they don't have that many weddings under their belt, and they're, not really, they're great at photography wise, but they're not really good at, the sales part of it. That could be. So if you can get past that, that's great. But trust your gut. I want people to come in and sit down with me and go home. I've already sized you up, you've already sized me up. If you get outside that door and you're like, whoa, he is not from me, trust your gut. Trust your gut, I have no problem at all. I'm gonna do the same thing. If I feel like, ooh, something feels off about that, I feel like that might not be a good fit, I'm gonna reluctantly say that I'm no longer available or anything else like that. So it's a two-way street with trusting your gut, but you can't trust your gut unless you get in front of the person. You must have that handshake communication, hear my voice, this is me, this is my personality, this is my energy. I have had people not hire me because my energy was too much for them. And that's okay. It was an older couple. This was their second wedding. They were in their late 50s and they were like, and she actually told me, Ron, great work, great price, but we feel like you have a little bit too much energy for an older couple like ourselves. We're looking for somebody a little bit more laid back and a little bit less energetic. And I replied back to them. I said, you know what? I never really thought about that. And I said, thank you, first of all, for your honesty. Thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate that. First, we're going to talk about ghosting in a second. But first of all, you actually told me. And I thank you for having the decency of saying that I was not a good fit for your day because of personality. I have other couples that do hire me because of personality, because they like having somebody that can take charge and have fun and do what we need to do and things like that and still stay on track and on time. And that's perfect. So it goes both ways. If I'm not a good fit, just say so. Bonus pro tip. How's this? Please, for the love of Pete, stop ghosting your vendors. When we don't get a response, it could be you're busy. It could be you have a lot of things going on. It could be you working third shift and you're working 3 days in a row as a nurse or overnight shift at the warehouse or anything else like that. So there's a delay in your responding back to us. Us as a vendor run the risk of, do we reply back again without feeling or seeming like we're trying to be a pest or anything like that? So we run the option of the risk of, do we reply back again without sounding like a pest? But I have seen people that you were talking to on your, met with you, had a good vibe, and then all of a sudden you're seeing on their social media like, hey, we booked our DJ, we booked our photographer, and it wasn't you. And you never just replied back. I will always send a text and say, are you still looking for a photographer? Question mark. That means please reply with an answer. Do you still need a photographer? Yes or no? Question mark. Just type back, hey Ron, we decided to go in another direction. You don't have to tell me why. I don't care if it's price, I don't care if it's personality, I don't care what it is. I would rather say, no problem, no harm, no foul, take you out of my calendar. Now that loosens up the day for somebody else to question. And it loosens up my calendar and it takes you out of my lead pile and puts you as a cold lead. So you're out of my radar. My questionnaires won't keep sending out because you're not responding and things like that. Just a simple, please, for the love of God, just reply back. Hey, Ron, we decided to go in another direction. You don't have to say, we hated you, you're overpriced. We don't have to do that. We don't need to hear that. And I'm not going to reply back to you saying I'm no longer available because you were a jerk or you're a bridezilla. I'm not going to say anything like that. I'm going to say, no problem at all. You guys went in another direction. No problem at all. So, two-way street. Just reply. Stop ghosting the vendors because it leaves us with uncertainty. And if we're going to open up the date to somebody else, I want to make sure that I've closed this door with you before I entertain the door with somebody else. And if you call me back and say, hey, Ron, sorry, we had a death in the family. I couldn't reply back. We want to move forward with you. But I already gave the date to somebody else. But I sent you 4 or 5 texts that you were not replying back to. I understand there's a death in the family. I apologize, condolences, whatever you need to do, but I can only hold those dates for so long. I'm going to end with a quote, but I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this video about vetting your vendors. It is so important nowadays that you get to know and research all of the people that are going to be part of your day. If links go to high school seniors and family sessions and they have no wedding tab, yellow flag. Yellow flag. If they can't answer how many weddings they do per year on their own, not as a second shooter that is doing all of the dictating throughout the day as a second shooter, that's great. Build your portfolio that way. But as a primary shooter and you're going to get weddings on your own and you've never done any weddings on your own, wedding couples, yellow flag. Doesn't mean they're out of the equation or out of the competition to possibly do your day. Just know the level of experience when it comes to that. Remember this, your vendors don't just provide services. They set the tone for the entire day. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel and listening to this rant. I know it's probably not going to be very popular for people to look at and say, oh, I'm being too harsh on newbies and things like that, and might, call me a couple of different things. Leave those comments down below. I'm anxious to see and hear what other professional vendors are saying. And if you're a newbie and you think this is wrong, that's okay. Put your comments down below. All I'm saying is if you want to be qualified for a wedding couple to justify contacting you, be truthful to them, use these tips to better educate yourself as a vendor, to better place yourself in the possibility of doing that. So, as always, like the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and remember to smile more because it sure does hurt less. Peace.